I'll get closure if he tells me the truth.
I think it can be very traumatic for the Steenkamp family to meet him.
Normally what they look for in these processes, they look for genuine remorse, they look for extenuating circumstances.
I don't say he's lying, but that's his version to court.
I think Oscar may find it very difficult to tell the truth.
He took the stand and testified under oath, which could create something like perjury.
He may expose his enablers and the people that stood by him.
He can't worsen his position in regards to the sentence that's been imposed and in regards to the time that he served.
Yes, I know that the Supreme Court of Appeal said they reject his version. I don't know.
So it's not a matter really of whether it's the truth or he's telling them the truth. The family need closure.
He killed the person who he wanted to protect. Is he not the victim then?
I must go there expecting the worst and hope for something better than that.
Hi, my name is Reva and I'm a contestant on Tropic Island of Treasure 5, which we just shot in Jamaica. I'm at the Lady Gaga concert. I wasn't going to come. My personal favorite was getting to swim with dolphins. Yeah, it's crazy out here.
I met Reva doing makeup for FTV. They were doing a fashion show and she was interviewing everybody, and that night she said to me, "You're gonna hear from me more." And a few days later, I got an email from her asking me to do makeup for the next FTV event, and I saw her there again and she ran up to me. But this just speaks for the kind of person she is. She ran up to me and she was like, "It's me, it's Reva. I've been talking to you on mail." We just kind of stuck with each other. And then I did a 3-day shoot with her for, I think it was for Edgar's, or I don't know, we're on set with each other every single day. And we literally decided to do coffee. And I think 2 days later, she phoned me. She was like, "Come over, come have tea, come have biscuits, you're coming over." And that was how the two of us became best friends.
We are a very small agency, we're a boutique agency, and we like to keep it that way because we want to have a relationship with our models. I knew what was going on in Reva's personal life, and I mean vice versa. She knew what was going on in our lives. Reva was a very big empath. She would always help her friends. I mean, she was a loving person, and she had an effect on you. In the short time that I knew her, she was one of my favorite people.
I think she felt like she hadn't accomplished enough for that age. And I do think she really wanted to get married. She really wanted to have been more successful, and she really wanted to do more for her parents.
So Reva was going out with Warren. Warren was a lovely guy, absolute sweetheart. I know she helped him with his business. They were a lovely couple.
The breakup with Warren was, I was heartbroken for him. I was heartbroken for her.
I don't know if Reva was looking for more excitement. I think she absolutely loved Warren.
I wish that they had stayed together, and that's the person she ended up with.
Reva was in a relationship with Francois Hougaard after she broke up with Warren.
It was exciting for her. It was very passionate.
She was her typical loving, gorgeous, motivational self. She really liked him a lot.
She was a giddy little girl. She was so excited. We're getting in the car she was driving, and we're listening to this heartboxing song. She was dancing and telling me how happy she was, and I just remember that night. I remember what she was wearing. She was just so happy.
But I think it was also a time where he was traveling a lot, so I don't know if they actually got to see each other that often.
They broke it off. He left for somewhere. He was playing rugby somewhere, but the day he left, I'm almost positive was the day she went to the sports awards with Oscar.
Hi, I'm Oscar's date tonight.
She went with Oscar as a friend.
He needed a date at the last minute, so it's like, Reva, just throw your stuff together and come and be my date.
So Reva called me the next morning. It was a Sunday morning after she went to the awards with Oscar, and she just said, oh my word, I'm on the front cover of a newspaper and it's completely blown out of proportion. I said, what do you mean? And it was a case of him phoning and saying, listen, I need a day to go to the sports awards, and would you come with me? And she got a dress from Gina and got shoes from this one, and they quickly did the makeup and off she went. So the press obviously loved that.
It's a gentleman.
Reva was completely a hopeless romantic. She used to take this ring that I had on my finger, and she used to put it on her wedding ring finger and be like, can't wait to get married, and this is what I want my engagement ring to look like. And she had this thing, and it was so weird because my 3-year-old niece started doing it just after she died. And she used to like touch her heart, and she used to be like, I love, love.
When two people meet, the assumption is that they fall in love for love. But what we know now from research is that we actually fall in love deeply unconsciously from attachment patterns.
You fall in love with being in love with love.
So when the child becomes the parent in the house, it develops a very unique attachment pattern in the child. The child makes up the story that if they're able to take care of the parents, they can create harmony, they can create peace, they can keep them together. They become the caretaker. They actually become adult too quickly. What you will see happening to those people is that in the future they'll develop an attachment pattern where they become the mothers and the caregivers of this world, where they take in the broken wings, take care of them, which is lovely. It's a beautiful trait. But the sad part about that story is that they don't have healthy boundaries of self. There wasn't a space where they were tended to, where they were cared for. So what happens is in relationships they give up their voice, they don't know how to push for intimacy, what they need. They somehow always end up in the giving position, regardless of the pain they experience.
At the time, him calling all the time and being obsessive wasn't really a warning. I'd never experienced that kind of intensity before, but I just thought he really, really liked her. Even we went to this party once, it was Deleuze's all-white party, and he drove past the party, which was weird. It was a Sunday, and he just decided to take a drive past the house. And so this is how the word stalker came across, and she even tweeted it. She's like, where's my stalker at? Because it was a running joke. But they weren't fighting at the time, so it was more like, he just really, really likes you so much.
Some of us have an anxious attachment pattern where we want to fix that no matter what. We move towards people, we give. The other child makes up a story that if I don't need attachment so much and abandonment doesn't affect me so much, I will survive, and they become the grandiose. The ones who are the avoiders, who push away. And strangely enough, these two energies are always attracted to each other. Usually the anxious person has got a shame approach to life. That when there's relationship pain, they make up a story that it's them. What did I do wrong? What should I do better? And then the grandiose, that if someone takes me back every time I do whatever, no matter how I treat them, it must mean that I'm truly loved. And that somehow plays out for all of us. The level of attachment just differs. The assumption is that all of us at some point will grow out of it into a more secure type. But those couples who don't, that's what we call toxic, abusive, unhealthy relationships.
No, I'm not going to drop it.
Could there be another version of events other than the one presented by Oscar and accepted by the court?
I did nothing wrong.
Sometime that night, I think an argument started in the bedroom.
If there was an argument, what could possibly have caused it?
I'm not sure what led to it and exactly what transpired, but it caused the duvet to end up on the floor and to be an inside-out pair of jeans on the carpet.
One of my jobs was going through the call list for that particular day. Now, all you've got is a bunch of numbers and times. But what I was doing is I was taking the numbers that would be showing on the service provider records and cross-referencing them with the Oscar's contact book off the phone that was managed to get downloaded. What we established was that as he arrived home that evening, and this is corroborated by the security guard who presented evidence that he was on the phone, that when he arrived home, he was on the phone to a number listed in his contact list as baby shoes.
You're overreacting now.
Did that phone call trigger an argument?
I think the argument moved outside of the room, maybe down in the television room, just outside the bedroom, or down even into the kitchen.
It was widely reported that Reva's ex-boyfriend,
And this is the argument that Mrs. van der Merwe heard when they were arguing out.
Francois Hoogot, sent an SMS that sparked the argument.
Why would you say that baby shoes? And then
But what if it was Oscar's interaction with baby shoes that sparked the argument?
The big question was, who is baby shoes? We did a service provider search on that particular number. We managed to establish that it was registered to a man in his 60s with the surname Edkins, who happens to have a daughter whose name is Jenna Edkins. Jenna Edkins is a former girlfriend of Oscar Pistorius. He had broken up with her several years prior to dating Reeva Steenkamp. But what it showed is that the night before the deadly shooting took place, he was on a significantly long call to his ex-girlfriend minutes before he arrived home. So it might very well have been that Edkins was messaging Oscar that night, but unfortunately that evidence has been deleted.
you are no one without me. I am going to
You go and I...
What we managed to establish is, and it wasn't presented in the court, but on the scene that morning, the police were seizing various pieces of evidence. And among the evidence that was being seized were cell phones, laptops, iPads, and tablets and the like. But what emerged is that Oscar, in fact, had two devices. He had a device that he used for work calls, and he had a device that he used for private calls. The device that was seized of Oscar's on the scene was his work phone. What emerged is that his private phone was actually removed from the crime scene, and it was ultimately found to have been removed by his brother Carl. Not just removed, but tampered with as well. That phone was taken and synchronized with a laptop or a Macintosh computer. And the username that was used was Titanium Hulk. That happened to be the nickname that Carl Pistorius goes by.
Was it jealousy?
You dare run from me!
Or was it fear?
At some point in time, it started turning physical. The best was stripped of her body. She was assaulted with a cricket bat.
Did Reva poke the bear?
She ran upstairs or into the bedroom, trying and lock herself in the bedroom for protection. And Oscar managed to open the door. And she fled further into the bathroom, locked herself in the toilet where she screamed for help. And possibly waving the jeans outside the window to hopefully get somebody's attention. But unfortunately slipped from her hands. And she continued to scream.
I can't believe that people in his family don't believe that he did it, because he did. It's too weak. It's too weak, his story. Who would believe that story? You know? Most people thought it was just rubbish, really.
Do you believe that Reva screamed?
Yes, of course. Do you know how much pain she would have been in with those bullets, black talon bullets that go in your bone and crush your bone?
This is obviously was very upsetting to Oscar. He lost it, grabbed the gun, and he fired 4 shots. Immediately afterwards, obviously, he was filled with regret. He realized what he had done. I believe that the remorse he's shown is genuine. And obviously, he managed to break the door down. He pulled the body out, called Standard, called Medicare.
Yes, this is Oscar Pistorius. I'm just reporting there's been a terrible accident.
I believe all that part is fairly accurate and truthful in his statements. And then took Reva's body downstairs. He may have tried to resuscitate her, or maybe thought he was still alive, but and that's when Stander and his daughter and the security guard arrived and found him down there.
We can confirm there was an incident this morning at the home of Mr. Oscar Pistorius.
The day I found out Reva passed away was very surreal.
Probably about 7:30. Whew. I got a phone call from Sam.
Sorry.
You know, when you're sleeping, you get I actually put the phone down because it was weird that I was just in a daze and she called me again.
My husband was driving down the road on his way to work and phoned and said, "Babe."
And she said, "Gee, I need to tell you something."
There is a lady who has been killed, 30-year-old.
Immediately I shot out of bed and I was like, "Where's Reva? Where's Reva?"
They said on the radio that Oscar shot his girlfriend.
I started screaming.
I was desperately trying to phone Gina to find out, what is this? Is this true? What happened? What's going on? You know, that panic of listening to a news bulletin.
Obviously, I'm not going to comment on his state of mind, but obviously he is shocked.
And it's just like, no, this is absolutely surreal.
You know, when you're screaming and crying, but there's no tears, that's what I was doing. And I was like, where is she? Where is she?
I tried to phone Kevin Markpass, who is a photographer, who knew Reva very well, who knows Gina very well.
She said to me, "There's been an accident." And I said, "What accident? Where is she? What hospital is she at? Tell me where she is." And she said, "My G, she's died."
Eventually Kevin picked up and I said, "Do you think this is Reva? Do you think this is who they're talking about?" And he said, "I think it is."
It's so weird because you live in that moment, and when you look back at it, even today, it feels like it was a movie. It feels so bizarre and like, it feels like it just didn't happen. But the first thing I said to my dad was by accident, and my dad said, "No, he definitely did it on purpose," and my dad lost it.
At a brisk pace, Oscar Pistorius strode through the gauntlet of cameras on this his first appearance as a convicted murderer.
I can only commend the department for their role that they played in this victim-offender dialogue process. Not only in the process, but also before the time they allowed us to go to the premises, to visit the venue, so that Barry could familiarize himself what it would be like on the day, showed him where he would sit. They even went as far as having the facilitator available so that Barry could get a very good idea of what would happen on the day.
I was thinking maybe Barry wouldn't come back because of his heart. Because if he had a heart attack, he may have been very, very disabled, and his life would have been even worse than it is now with his... He's got a bad heart.
Very shocked getting to the victim-offender dialogue the other day. my journey, I had nightmares the night before. I was wondering how you were feeling about it.
Well, Tanya, exactly the same as you felt, I'm sure.
As I said previously, trauma is not what happens with us, but inside of us. And how we journey through trauma is very unique to all of us. If you just look at the publicity around the two people in that story, the emotional, broken down, in touch husband, and what the public has called during the cold, stone-faced, unemotional. But it's actually the same pain, just showing up differently. That sometimes something is so severe and so deep that the body and the mind need to disassociate with it just to survive. And just to have that understanding and compassion when you receive the story and you think about them. It's the same pain, just it looks different, it shows up differently. It's two people broken in deep pain with very different needs.
They've always been very, very appreciative to what we have done. Never have I had any negative comment from any of them. But heartbroken people, yeah.
But do you believe that he should come out on parole?
No, I don't know what he's going to do. If he's destroyed by what he's done now, that would be a good thing. But I don't know if that's the truth. There were so many lies during the court case that he may not have been really remorseful.
There were a few people who were close to him at the time that called me in the day. One of them was a friend of his. And when I answered the phone, I said to him, do you think he did it? And he said to me, Gina, I've been shooting with him and he knows exactly what he does, what he's doing when he shoots, and his aim is perfect.
He can't control his temper. That's the whole problem.
Reva would phone and say, listen, we had a massive fight last night. I don't know if this is normal. And I would ask, obviously, what happened. And the one time it was actually an event they both were invited to. And after the event, when they left, someone actually stopped Reva and asked her questions and took pictures, which was obviously strange for him. And then at one point, they were stopping Oscar. And then she would step away and give him his space because they were asking questions. She wasn't the type to want to steal the limelight. And he got very, very upset about that. Why did you step away? Why did you leave me? It was embarrassing. And she was like, I was trying to, just let you have your say or your moment with the person who was interviewing you. I didn't want to cramp your style type of thing. He had a very explosive temper. And that's not what Reva was used to. I mean, I could just see her little face in complete shock.
In my office, couples ask me a lot of times, what is too soon to have a big fight? I don't think there's a rule to say in the first 4 months of the romantic phase or the first 6 months you should not have big fights. That's not how we measure healthy relationships, if you have big fights or not. It is what happens after those fights. So the assumption is that all of us, me and you, falling in love, will have big fights, but hopefully there will be a place after the fight where there would be mutual accountability, mutual self-reflection, and recovery. The sorry, I hear you, I see you, I understand. So for a couple, having intense fights without accountability, that I would say is very unhealthy.
Reva knew about the friendship between Edkins and Pistorius because there's actually a message exchange between the two where it appears Oscar had dated two Jennas at some point, a Jenna Edkins and another. And Reva messaged Oscar asking about a certain Jenna, and he had confirmed, no, it was this other Jenna. And he said, oh, okay, because this particular Jenna is standing behind me in a queue or something like that. So it suggests that she was aware that there was some relationship between them. And I say relationship in the sense of, not romantic.
I know he's aggressive, and I know he's irresponsible with his gun. One day, my sister and I went with him and Reva. We went to the Nando's, the takeaway. My sister got out the car to take pictures of the sunset, and we thought it would be funny to drive off without her as a joke. It was very funny. She got back in the car and we had to pull over just to wait for our food to get ready, and Oscar and Reva got out the car and they were sitting and looking at the sunset, and we got into the car and we were pretending that we were going to drive his car away. And then I looked in the rearview mirror and Reva was like, and I was like, what? She was like, and I looked and his gun was just lying on the floor, like just random. And I don't know why that memory just came back to me after she died, because you almost think to yourself, was it that gun that he used to kill her? I was right by it. He was so responsible. Who leaves their gun just lying around on the car seat? Yeah.
When that phone was synchronized, significant parts of it were deleted. Call history, messages that were actually sent after the shooting had taken place while Oscar was actually in jail. It was only handed to the police a full 12 days after the fact. But because there had been this tampering and the resynchronization of this particular device, the police couldn't gain access to it. Well, the police suspected that it was Carl who had deleted the data off Oscar's private phone. But an interesting part of this is that when the trial started, the state had every intention of actually arresting and prosecuting Carl on charges of defeating the ends of justice for that very suspicion that he had deleted this potentially crucial evidence off the phone. But it was never presented in court. He was never arrested, and this never appeared in court, and the public never actually heard about it.
Police investigator Hilton Botha was torn apart by the Pistorius defense lawyer.
At the beginning of the trial, for the state, there was much concern about Hilton Botha, the first investigating officer, and questions related to the chain of evidence. And one of those questions related to the movement of cell phones and, the fact that Carl had taken a cell phone from the scene. So there was an agreement that was reached between the state and the defense that the state wouldn't act on Carl for defeating the ends of justice if the defense was going to make certain admissions to the court. And the admissions related to the chain of evidence to do with the other cell phones that were seized.
You don't know what to expect, but it's a very worrying couple of days. And that I feel for everybody, that was there and that was involved in the whole VOD.
I don't think the truth came out in the trial. The only thing that could be a positive or be some kind of light to a parent in this kind of situation is knowing exactly what happened to give some kind of closure. And I don't think that'll ever happen. Oscar had so many different versions. They were all thrown out, right?
Tell the truth. And if you tell the truth, a lot of people will forgive you.
Reva lived in my house with me and my family. My dad, my nephew used to walk into the bathroom all the time. She used to shout at him, "Jaden, get out." She never once locked the bathroom door. Never once. Reva was a neat freak. She wouldn't have a tog bag or an overnight bag with one piece of clothing out or this piece of clothing there. She would only have run into a bathroom and locked herself out of fear. If Oscar really thought that there was someone trying to break into his house and he didn't see Reva there, obviously you try and find the person that you love. None of it makes sense to me. None of it makes sense.
I couldn't go myself because it was too terrible for me to go. But he had wonderful friends with him and who all supported him through that. Even though I couldn't go, I could not go, I could not do that. I don't want to see him again, ever. I would have been feeling ill and afraid. I don't know why afraid. You never know what's going to happen in that kind of difficult situation. You don't know.
On the actual day, we were met at the gate. They allocated a parking bay so that Barry didn't have to walk far, because we know Barry's health is an issue. They really went out of their way to make Barry and us as comfortable as possible. And I must also say for Oscar as well and his support team. They didn't distinguish between offender and victim, and I think that is a feather in their cap, because what is the purposes of the victim-offender dialogue? It is so that the offender and the victim or the victim's family could get some form of closure and peace, perhaps.
I couldn't go myself. I wouldn't want to face that man, ever.
It was a very emotional meeting.
Very touching on all sides.
The feeling in that room was an overwhelming sense of, I want to say, grief and sadness, because on the one hand we had Barry, the father of Reva, and he had to face his daughter's killer.
You know, you arrive there thinking that you're going to say this and you're going to say that, but it doesn't work out that way.
And on the other hand, Oscar was obviously sad, full of remorse and regret, also very tearful and heartsore.
And it's just like one sad thing that happened. I'm sure it could have been avoided. It's one of those things in life. And it just so happened that June, myself, and Oscar Pistorius were involved with this whole thing.
Reva was a gift from God, the most precious gift, taken away from me by you.
June had asked me to read the letter to Oscar, but the department decided that they don't want an attorney to speak because it would be detracting from the whole process. So the social worker read the letter.
She will never have our grandchild. She will never have her wedding. She will never have a wedding dress. She will never finish and practice her law degree. You have stolen her life.
It was a very heartfelt letter, and I could clearly see that it affected Oscar very deeply.
She cared for others and loved others before herself.
The remorse and the regret was palpable, and it was true.
Barry and I loved her with all our hearts, and now we have had to live without her for 10 years.
It's beautiful.
You expected certain things to be told to you, certain questions that you asked. It was a very difficult, traumatic hour or two that we spent there. After a while, you forget that you are in a meeting. So I said, like, you're in prison. I said, we're in prison as well. I said, we're in prison as well. I asked him, and there's certain little questions I did ask. Going up to ask about the truth, I expected different answers, but most probably that's the human being. You are fighting for yourself, and it was only the two of us talking. Only the two of us talking, June. He gave me his truth, but I didn't get my truth. That's all.
Do you think Oscar will ever come clean and tell the truth?
I don't know if he will, but I would say if I must give him advice, I would say to him, give out the truth and you will be forgiven, and God will support you. God will support him if he tells the truth. He's never going to be free until he does that.
outcome that Barry was looking for, I'm afraid it wasn't the outcome that he was hoping for, but it doesn't detract from the fact that it's still an overwhelming sense of relief that it's over now.
I think that he came back with quite a few opinions of his own.
It's like certain things weren't answered properly during the trial. And to me, one of the big things where Oscar said Reva didn't scream, I believe she did scream.
He didn't tell me everything, you know. I think he told you more than he told me.
Do you think he wants to tell the truth?
I think, me personally, I think one day he is.
Why do you say that?
I just got that feeling.
Oscar said Barry could have been his father-in-law. That is true, eh? If it would have gone differently, if he hadn't gone berserk and killed her. That's all he said to me. And I think that really upset him, you know?
Do you think Oscar is truly remorseful?
Now, yes. I personally think that Oscar lost it on the spur of the moment. And straight after he did it, he regretted it.
He gets on with everybody, Barry, you know? He's a very likable person. I think, you know, it was difficult to watch somebody disintegrate into nothing. And that's what he is now. I don't think he's strong anymore. I don't think he's happy anymore. I think he wished he never, ever done what he did. That's what I think.
After it finished, his cousin, or whoever it was, came along and asked if Oscar could come shake your hand. And I said, yes. He came in and he went on his knees and he took my hand and he shook my hand. He thanked me and everything like that. And how sorry he was about everything, and he can't stop thinking about the whole situation all the time. I don't know how it was, but that's what he put over. And, you know, with all the against and this and that, it was a very touching moment. I could have said no and left it, but we did shake hands. I didn't say I forgive you or anything like that. I just said thank you.
Based on what I saw in court, based on the testimony in court, I'm sorry to say, but I don't believe Oscar's version. And I don't believe that he told Barry the truth.
She knows what she's doing, Tanya. So she must do what's best for us, and which she's done for 10 years now, protecting us.
I'm glad it's over, though. It's been a long road.
Very, very pleased that it's over. You know yourself, it's not really over as such. But from now onwards, we want nothing to do with it. There will be a parole hearing at some time or other, but June and I won't be involved in that.
Okay. You'll remember that, in our opinion, we've calculated that he's not yet eligible for parole, and you've said to me that as long as it happens as per the law.
As per the law, if it happens in that way, it happens.
Okay, so if they give me a date now and we still think he's not yet eligible, are you saying to me I must leave it, or are you...
I feel we want this behind us.
Yeah. Which is understandable.
And if Oscar applies for parole now, let it go ahead.
Okay.
Is this all over for you now?
No.
Whenever I feel a little bit a little bit more relaxed, just, the wind knocked out of me a bit.
I miss my child. How can it be over? If you could say to me you can bring her back, then I would say, it's different. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. So how is it going to be different for me? It's not going to be any different.
You'll never find peace until I get to hear what I want to hear.
I can't live without her, I can't. And it's 10 years now, and every day is the same as the first day.
This does not need to be the end for them as a couple. With their pain, with their trauma, there can be a space where the two of them can bridge the gap, create a space where alone is not so alone anymore. And there can be deep understanding and a meeting of two souls within this dark story. And I think that would be my invitation, to give one last push out of survival into recovery.
Barry said to me, he told Oscar about Reva's ashes.
I said, Oscar, you don't know how close you were to Reva from morphine jail. He just burst out crying. I said, you don't know how close you were to Reva's ashes.